Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Red Raptor Writes. That's because it's my birthday today. I turned 23, so now I have to cope with the fact that my life is about 1/4 of the way done. To celebrate, I figured it would be nice to rank my 10 favorite dinosaurs. When it comes to knowing someone, this is probably the most important information there is, but at 23, no one even bothers to ask anymore. What a shame. Before we get started, I'd like to thank everyone who wished me well when I had COVID less than a week ago. It means a lot to me that so many of you took the time to write. That was tremendously nice to read. Thankfully, my symptoms were never bad. At worst, it was a mild cold, but I did get really drowsy for a few days. Combine that with not being able to sleep, and that led to me laying in agony waiting to knock out. So glad that's over. Now, let's move on to my top 10 dinos. Let's dig this up. Like a ninja of love, Miragaia snuck its way right into my heart. This Portuguese, and now possibly American, stegosaurid already possesses those classic features reminiscent of its relatives, those being deadly tail spikes and ostentatious plates, total chads. But unlike the more popular Stegosaurus, the Miragaia carries these two impressive shoulder spikes that protected its flanks. Those were more than enough to ruin any predator's day. Additionally, these guys had extra long necks. Although not as extreme as its sauropod contemporaries, this feature probably allowed them easier access to more plants, either by being used to reach higher leaves or simply giving a wider feeding range while standing still. Lazy, but I'll take it.
Brilliant but lazy.
This is the first of many theropods or meat-eating dinosaurs to appear on my list. I don't know why, but I've always been a theropod kind of guy. Maybe carnivory is just something I've always related to. Salads are the worst. Now, the Acrocanthosaurus specifically is a carcharodontosaurid, one of the shark-toothed reptiles. That alone goes very far, but this one specifically stands out due to its giant neural spines. Their length caused the appearance of a short sail or hump-like structure. So, some nice flair to one of North America's largest predators ever. Next up on our list comes straight from the Hell Creek Formation, the legendary Pachycephalosaurus. This dinosaur needs no introduction. That dome head puts some respect on the name of this plant eater. The dome's exact purpose is still up for debate. Did Pachy's charge each other, simply square up to whack each other? Did they use it to fight small predators? Or was it purely for display? Plus, what makes them even more fascinating is the fact that Dracorex and Stygimoloch probably both represent different growth stages of Pachycephalosaurus. I'm hopeful new discoveries will give us a clearer picture. Whether you started out on dinos from Jurassic Park, Walking with Dinosaurs, Disney's Dinosaur, or anywhere else, odds are that Brachiosaurus became a part of your childhood. Brachiosaurus was there for you when no one else was. When all is lost, you can still count on Brachiosaurus. Alright, I'm just playing, but this Jurassic Titan is a household name for a reason, being a huge standout in popular culture, captivating so many imaginations. While not the largest sauropod out there, these guys towered over every other animal in their environment. Maybe it's blasphemous to have the iconic T-Rex so low on the list. I'm well aware that most people would have it as their number one, but that's the problem for me. Tyrannosaurus is so popular that it's all many people know, and they probably know it wrong. That also means some researchers will use that fame seemingly for their own clout, so wild theories keep getting pushed like the Scavenger Rex, special bacterial bite, and the recent multiple species. But regardless, this is still potentially the most massive predator to ever walk the earth. Not only did it own the largest bite force of any land animal, with some estimates as high as 13,000 pounds of force, but it was also armed with some of the best senses ever. T-Rex had amazing vision, smell, hearing, and more brain power than most dinosaurs. Somewhat overdone, but definitely worthy of attention. The title of my favorite herbivore doesn't go to Triceratops, but the earlier relative Styracosaurus. It has the charm of the trike, an herbivore that used face horns to fight rivals, and even tyrannosaurids. However, I love its bizarre ornamentation. Those frill spikes are infinitely menacing yet cool looking. Plus, they're subject to a lot of variation. Specimens can differ drastically from one another. Heck, Styracosaurus skulls have been found that aren't even symmetrical. That raises plenty of questions since ceratopsid species are often classified based on these features that we now know can vary wildly. Recently, this has meant synonymizing Rubeosaurus back into Styracosaurus and the creation of the new genus Stylosaurus. The only Tyrannosaurid most people know about is Tyrannosaurus, unfortunately, so I'm glad that as a kid, I was able to grow up with Albertosaurus too. Sorry Gorgosaurus fans, take a seat. Featured in the still awesome J-Pog and Prehistoric Park, it was cool to see a smaller, faster version of T-Rex, kinda like a prototype. I can't say that these ideas still hold up since A, this genus was still pretty large, up to 10 meters, and B, larger adult sizes could mean that fast speeds were relegated to the young. Also, it's worth noting that up to 26 individuals were found buried together at the Dry Island Bone Bed in Alberta, Canada. This in itself is epic, being the largest assemblage of Cretaceous theropod fossils, but the implications are just crazy. With individuals of various sizes and with no herbivores present, it may be that this site indicates gregarious behavior in this genus. Albertosaurus deserves recognition from the vast wealth of knowledge we have of it, with so many specimens of different ages. Spinosaurus, on the other hand, is breaking the top 3 because of how mysterious it is. As the longest theropod alone, that's enough to make its way into the books and television, and that sale is already enough to capture our imaginations. Not only that, but the original specimen found by Ernst Stromer was destroyed in World War II in a 1944 bombing of Munich. A tragic loss, but the mystery only grew stronger. Spinosaurus is the gift that keeps on giving. It seems like every few years now, our perception of this fish eater changes drastically. Each clue we get only makes the Spinos seem so much stranger. In the 2000s, this theropod was a baryonyx with a fin. Then in 2014, the neotype was described with short legs. Later in 2018 was the unveiling of a tadpole-like tail. Who knows what our depictions will look like in the future, but I can't wait to see what comes next. If I were to make this list a few years ago, Deinonychus would have been my number 1.
He was number 1!
My top spot has shifted recently, but I'll get to that soon. This very famous dromaeosaurid, or raptor dinosaur, is a must-have on the list because of its unfathomable importance to modern paleontology. Before its description in 1969, dinosaurs were largely depicted as slow swamp monsters that dragged their tails. Paleontology largely became stagnant. Not that nothing happened in this time, but 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and the Cold War meant less intrigue and less funding. With the Terrible Claws description, it became clear that these were fast, warm-blooded, and interesting animals. This new portrayal for the second half of the 20th century is often referred to as the dinosaur renaissance. Thanks, Deinonychus. And of course, I need to mention pack hunting, since several individuals have been found in association with Tyrannosaurus remains. While I always caution against jumping to conclusions, since there are other explanations for this, it is a cool idea. And lastly, Deinonychus has been portrayed constantly through paleomedia, being a staple on par with Triceratops and T-Rex. Everything about it, from the menacing claws to the history and pop culture, is all awesome. Who doesn't love an underdog story? For years, Ceratosaurus has gotten the short end of the Jurassic stick. It constantly has to play second banana to Allosaurus, being killed often when Dinosaurs Roamed America, Jurassic Fight Club, and in Camp Cretaceous to the Scorpius Rex. JP3 barely gave it a scene. Well, it's time for Ceratosaurus to take back its reputation. After seeing Cerato receive such unfair treatment, I guess I've come to sympathize with it, but that's not the only reason why it's my very favorite dinosaur.
I'm number 1, you're number 2.
This predator has such an iconic look. The name means horned lizard, and you can see why. It's instantly recognizable with these crests that would have been used for display, so they probably were brightly colored as well. Ceratosaurus also possessed a row of osteoderms running down the back to aid in display, looking so sick. Lastly, I'd like to point out the ecology of this predator. There were several other large predators in its community, such as Allosaurus and Torvosaurus. In order to be competitive, it seems that Ceratosaurus is more of a generalist, being able to eat a variety of prey, including aquatic creatures, which is a cool thought. Okay, this is the last one. We still get that mystery factor with only a handful of specimens found across North America and Europe, while possibly fragmentary material was discovered in Africa and South America. So paleontologists are unsure what their range was. It's also unclear how many Ceratosaurus species there were. Some experts consider 3 species, while others believe they're all different growth stages of 1. It seems like only more discoveries will tell us for sure. Well, I hope you enjoyed this list of my top 10 favorite dinosaurs. This is a fun birthday experience for me. Let me know if you like this style of video, cause I'm certainly considering more lists in the future. And also comment your favorites down below. I'd love to see what you guys like as well. But remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like, subscribe, and check out my social media. See you next time.